was already midnight, and Steve couldn't sleep. He looked at his wife, sleeping beside him for a while, then kissed her on the forehead and left the bedroom. His wife opened her eyes as soon as Steve left. It was very dark outside, and the house was located away from the city, close to the forest. Steve went down to the first floor. To overcome his insomnia, he decided to drink some alcohol. So he took out a bottle of red wine, hidden behind many dishes from the kitchen cupboard, and poured it into an oblong wine glass. He sat down on one of the armchairs in the living room, holding a glass in his right hand and with his left hand. He put the bottle full of wine on the floor so that it wouldn't fall by accident. After a few glasses, when Steve already felt a little tired, he put the glass next to the bottle of wine and started looking at the photos that hung in the room. In every photo, he was with his wife, and Stevie thought he was very lucky to have her by his side and to have the best wife. Jessica has always been with him in difficult situations, and in the last 3 years, Steve has lost his mother, father, and younger brother at the same time, which has been catastrophically difficult for him to cope with. Jessica is the only relative left. Later, Steve decided to look at some old photos he had found in the attic. So he grabbed a flashlight and headed up to the attic. He found a big box and started looking at the photos. For the first time, he took out a photo of himself as a child, in which he was playing a small guitar while standing outside in nature with a happy face. What a good time, Steve thought, feeling nostalgic. Then he pulled out another photo, also of him as a child, with a little Stevie in his mother's arms. In the next photo, he was with his childhood best friend. Suddenly, Steve's entire body went wild. His eyes widened and his heart racing as he noticed that there was someone else in his childhood photos besides them, standing in the background of each photo, looking at the little boy with an evil grin. She was an unknown girl who, despite looking scary, had a very familiar face. Jessica, thought the frightened boy. No, is this impossible? It's just very, very, very similar. The more the boy looked at the photo, the more similarities he saw between the smiling woman in the background and Jessica. It is impossible. Jessica was 12 years old then? Or what was wrong with her face? This strange smile. No, it really was she. But what kind of face did she have? In all the photos, Steve could see Jessica standing somewhere far away. Suddenly, the boy felt someone's gaze from behind. "Jessica!" he shouted, and immediately looked back. A pale Jessica, smiling just as eerily as in the old photographs, stood by the stair leading down to the attic, staring at the boy with wide, evil eyes.
I was always be with you, darling. I was waiting for you. Your family members would prevent us. You are mine, and only you will be mine forever.
My friend Lucas told me this story. When he was 7 years old, he told me a terrible story, which he still remembers in great detail. Since childhood, he had to sleep alone in the comfortably furnished bedroom, while his parents slept in the next room. He belonged to his mother. That's why this entire difficulty belonged only to him. He remembers that it was warm in the house that night, but suddenly it got cold. Lucas had a terrible nightmare and woke up scared. He saw that it was very dark in the room, even more than it was dark at other times. Perhaps it was the fault that the thick curtains on the window were completely closed and the light did not enter well. Lucas looked around to make sure there was no one around, and when he calmed down after taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes, decided to go back to sleep. But as soon as he closed his eyes, someone touched his leg. But that's not all. At the same time as the touch, someone in the room started breathing very heavily. Lucas jumped up in fright, opened his eyes, and looked around. But there was still no one in the room but him. He soon decided to sleep again, and as soon as he closed his eyes, he felt someone's touch on his leg again. He didn't know what to do. The blanket was covering his entire body, and he was very afraid. The boy just closed his eyes and tried to sleep. He tried not to pay attention and tried to sleep. Let's remind you that Lucas was only 7 years old, and many years have passed since this event, although the boy still remembers the incident well and is still frightened by the memory of it. Until today, when he goes to sleep, he lights a small night lamp so that the room is not completely dark, and he covers his entire body, including his head, with a blanket and sleeps like that. However, despite the fact that years have passed since this story, and he has not felt such a touch, he still has the feeling that someone is watching from the darkest corner of the room. And sometimes he even hears the sound of that being's momentary, deep inhalation